Namaskar, everybody, and welcome to our Geeta Satsang for today. So, let us get started with the Prarthana. By the Guru's grace and the will of Sri Krishna, we have all assembled for this Geeta Satsang. May we have their guidance to be able to learn and adopt the things which will help us to grow spiritually. Let us chant the Shlokas. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Krishnaya Vasudevaya Haraye Paramatmane Pranatah Kleshanashaya Govindaya Namo Namaha Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Pullara Vindaya Tapatra Netra Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajwalito Jnanamaya Pradipah Ramanujadaya Patram Jnana Vairagya Bhushanam Srimad Venkatanathaaryam Vande Vedanta Deshikam Yo Nityamachyuta Padambuja Yugma Rukma Vyamohatastaditarani Trinaya Mene Asmad Gurur Bhagavatosya Dayaika Sindho Ramanujasya Charanau Sharanam Prapadye. So with prayers at the lotus feet of the Acharyas, let us start our topic for today. So we have been discussing the second chapter, and last satsang we came up to the 43rd chapter. So today we will take up shloka number 44. So if you remember, Krishna is telling Arjuna about how he should make up his mind, and with a resolute determination he should fix his mind and focus on achieving moksha, and he should fight in the yuddha for that very purpose and not to attain the rajya or for any other inferior kind of disorders. So Krishna has been explaining that why some people are not able to do that, how some people are trapped in the teachings of the Vedas, which tell about doing certain rituals for certain benefits which are in this world or in Swarga. And already we have seen that Krishna has tried to explain that attaining joy of this world or attaining the ability to enjoy pleasure in Swarga, that is not the ultimate purpose that a sadhaka should be looking at. Our focus should be not on those parts of the Vedas, but on the teachings of the Vedanta, of the Upanishads. So continuing in that, on that subject, Krishna is speaking the 44th verse. Bhogaishwarya prasaktanam taya pahrita chetasam vyavasayatmika buddhihi samadhau na vidhiyate. So here Krishna is talking about people who have their mind attached to worldly pleasures. So such people with their minds deeply attached to worldly pleasures and their intellect is bewildered. Bewildered means confused by such things. These people are unable to produce, to possess, to have that resolute determination which is required for success on the path to God. Success on the path to God to attain samadhi means success on the path of attaining moksha. So here Krishna is saying that there are some people in this world whose entire focus is only on worldly pleasures. And when your focus is only on worldly pleasure, then your mind, your buddhi, everything is circling around that only. So if you have this kind of a mind and buddhi, then you will not have the determination which is required to progress on the spiritual path, because you will be lost forever in these worldly pleasures only. So here Krishna is explaining who are these people who don't get that resolute determination that they want to reach moksha. Any person who does not understand the true nature of the Atma, isn't it? Because if somebody had to understand that the Atma is Nitya, Atma is eternal, the Atma is different from the Deha, then such a person would understand that whatever pleasures are being experienced, whatever enjoyment is coming, it is only coming for the body and it will come to an end. It is not permanent, it is temporary, and it cannot give the highest grade of happiness. So, such a person who understands that Deha and Atma are different, only such a person will realize that, okay, this thing called Atma, that is what is going to take me to the ultimate everlasting bliss or Ananda. And that means that I need to journey to moksha. So a person who does not understand that Atma and Deha are different, person who has no concept of Atma at all, person who only thinks of the Deha, of the Sharira, such a person will not be able to understand and get the determination to reach the moksha. Shobha, you're asking to increase the font size, but I'm sorry, actually I have logged in through my phone, so it is appearing small. I suppose when you get the recording in the YouTube video, maybe you'll be able to see it larger.
Okay,
There's
ma'am.
some problem. Yeah, there's some problem with my laptop because of which I couldn't use my laptop. That's why
Okay,
Zarnaji is recording. Yeah.
okay.
So yeah. So we'll continue. So who are these kind of people who don't understand the nature of the Atma? The people who are lost. Why they don't have this understanding? Why they don't find themselves thinking about the Atma and all that? Because they are trapped. In what are they trapped? In pursuing, in constantly running behind Bhoga and Aishwarya. Bhoga is enjoyment and Aishwarya is luxury or opulence, wealth, like that. So if somebody is always caught up to run behind their enjoyment, always they are seeking luxury, always they are seeking enjoyment, always they want to find some pleasure through any of the five senses, through the jnanendriyas, through the karmendriyas, through the mind, through the buddhi. If somebody is always trapped in this only, then this person will never think about Atma, Moksha, and all that. So, naturally, they are not going to do any actions which involve doing their duty as it is prescribed in the Shastra. So, when they don't have this kind of an attitude, they will not follow Karma Yoga. So, there is no chance. I'm sorry, in that script it has come as no change of moksha. It's not change, the word is chance. So they have no chance at all of attaining moksha because to get that bhoga and Aishwarya, they are going to do various actions. And those actions are just plain materialistic actions. So what will happen? Because of those actions, they will they will obtain some papa and punya based on whether they are doing bad actions or good actions. So if they are getting papa and punya, then to experience and finish that account of papa and punya, they have to again take birth. So this cycle of repeated birth and death, that means a person is going to be caught up only in that vicious cycle. So there is absolutely no chance of such a person getting moksha. So now Krishna has explained all this, right? And then he is going further. Now, why Krishna is telling all this to Arjuna? Because he wants to try and make Arjuna understand that there are people like this, no doubt. And such people do not do karma yoga, they have no chance of attaining moksha. But Arjuna is not somebody of this category, isn't it? Already we have seen Arjuna has said that he is not interested in Rajya, he is not interested in Sukha. So Arjuna is definitely not the category of person who is running after Bhoga Aishwarya. Then why Krishna is still telling him all this? There are people like this, but you don't fall into this trap. That is what he's trying to arrange. He's trying to explain. So next in the 45th shloka, Krishna continues. What was Arjuna's original doubt? That Vedas are there. When Vedas are telling, does Krishna mean to say that we should not follow the Vedas? So Krishna is explaining, understanding what is the question in Arjuna's mind. Lord Krishna is telling the next, the 45th shloka, in which he says, Traigunya Vishaya Veda, Nistraigunyo Bhavarjuna, Nirdvandvo Nitya Satpastho, Niryogakshema Atmavan. So he's saying that the Vedas, no doubt they are the authority, they are the Shastra, but they deal with the three modes of material nature, the three gunas, sattva guna, rajo guna, and tamo guna. O Arjuna, in the Vedas, the whatever is told is for people who are having all these gunas. But he is telling Arjuna, you have to rise above all these three gunas. Where you have to go? You have to go to a higher stage, Nistraigunya. You have to go to a stage which is beyond these three gunas, which is nothing but a pure spiritual consciousness. As long as somebody is caught up in these three gunas, they will be caught up on the material plane. But Krishna wants Arjuna to progress to the purely spiritual plane. So he says, Nirdvandvo, free yourself, make yourself free from all the dvandvas. Dvandvas means the dualities. And always keep your mind fixed in sattva, in the truth, in what is the real thing, the true nature of the Atma. And without concern for your material gain and safety, don't be worried about what is yoga and kshema for you. Don't worry about that. Instead, be Atmavan. Always keep thinking of the Atma. Be situated in constantly contemplating on the Atma. So, what are the things in this shloka? Why Krishna is telling this? Now, Krishna understands that in Arjuna's mind, there are two questions. They are unspoken questions, but Krishna understands them. First, the doubt in Arjuna's mind is that the Vedas are the words of the Lord Himself. We say the Vedas express whatever is the Lord's desires, whatever the Lord wants human beings to follow. He has told that in the Vedas. So we must follow the Vedas. Then how it can be wrong to follow the Vedas? Why Krishna is saying that those who are believing in certain parts of the Vedas, they are like fools? Why he is telling all this? Why should we then not follow the Vedas? Right? And then his second question is, all that the Vedas are telling, is that all totally wrong? Should we ignore completely the Vedas? Should we live our life by ourselves without bothering about what the Vedas are telling? Right? So why this doubt is there in Arjuna's mind? Because it is said that whatever the Lord wanted to convey, He has told in the Vedas. So that is like the manual that we have to use to live our life. Just like every instrument, every equipment comes with an operating manual that tells about how it is to be used. So also when we are given human birth, then the manual that tells us how we should lead our life, what we should do, what we should not do, that manual is the Vedas. And in fact, it is said by all the jnanis and the rishis that the Vedas are more caring than the most affectionate mother. Whatever the Vedas tell, it is with the ultimate focus, with the ultimate goal of uplifting humankind. So, in such a situation, when we know that the Vedas are so important, why is Krishna now saying that don't bother about those parts of the Vedas, don't bother about what the Vedas are telling? You focus on Vedanta, on the ultimate teaching of the Vedas. Why is Krishna saying this? So, Krishna answers that question. Now, he's telling Arjuna that whatever is there in the Vedas, it is there as advice for people of all the three gunas, Sattva guna, Rajo guna, and Tamo guna. So when it is advising all types of people, then there will definitely be all types of advice in that. But does it mean that everybody should take all the advice and do all the things in the Vedas? Definitely not. Each person should take only that part of the advice which is appropriate and apt for him or her, right? Like here the acharyas explain that suppose we see, even in worldly life, we see if a mother has three children, the eldest one, let us say, is very calm, the middle child is angry and restless, and the youngest child is lazy and always sleeping. Now, do you think when this mother gives advice to the children, will she advise the same thing to all the children? The child who is already doing his work properly, who is already calm at all times, will she tell him, see, you should not waste your time, you should be doing something? There is no use of telling him that because he is already not in that category. The child who is angry, will she tell that child that you should be calm? Yes, she will definitely tell that child about being calm. But she will not tell that child, don't be lazy, because that child is already not lazy, isn't it? So, if a mother has three children with three different prakritis, then she is going to advise them differently based on what is their particular qualities, isn't it? Based on what situations they get into, she is going to advise them. Again, here, suppose let us say there is a child who is the youngest child is very small and tries to put everything in the mouth. Whatever is fallen on the floor, it tries to put in the mouth. Now the mother will try to tell that child about not putting into the mouth. But will she advise the same thing to the older child who already has given up putting into the mouth? She will not. So similarly, if you say these three children, if you say calmness is the sattva guna, anger is the rajoguna, and laziness is the tamoguna, then just like the mother who has three children of different gunas treats them differently, advises them differently, so also the Vedas, they have certain set of instructions which are for the people with tamoguna. They have certain instructions, certain rituals for those who have rajoguna, and they have some set of actions to be performed by people who have sattva guna. Now, what is Arjuna's level here? Arjuna is not at the rajo tamo guna level, isn't it? So he should not take whatever is advice is prescribed for them. Now, in the Vedas, the parts which talk about doing particular rituals, doing some actions to attain swarga or to enjoy in this world, those are all for people who are in the tamo guna or in the rajo guna level, because we want to make sure that people see a tamo guna person will generally have no absolute interest in anything to do with spirituality. So they will be lost only in sense pleasures. The Rajoguna person may have some amount of interest, but then they are very restless and agitated. They may not be able to do in a consistent way. The person with Sattva Guna will have an affinity for spiritual activities and they may be pursuing it. So, if there is somebody who is having lot of Tamoguna, then such a person, we want them to at least start doing some amount of spiritual practice. So then for such a person, the Vedas will advise that you do this particular ritual, you do this particular homa, and so on, so that he's gradually brought into the area of spiritual practice. Somebody who is having rajoguna, it will tell him some other things. It will try to teach him about how he should contemplate on the Lord, how he should do dhyana, and such things, so that gradually the restlessness of his mind becomes less. And for the person who is having sattva guna, it will try to tell him how to go beyond the sattva guna, how to not even have any kind of desire of this world, how to be detached from worldly things, and to strive for moksha. So, like this, there are different kinds of guidelines for different prakriti, different gunas of people. Now, Arjuna is already having sattva guna. So, why he should go backwards and do something which is told for the tamo guna person? That is why Krishna is trying to tell Arjuna that you are already at a higher level. For you, all the other things don't apply. You don't have to bother about them. Just like the older child did not need to be told about not picking what is on the floor and putting in the mouth, so also Arjuna does not need to bother about doing this yajna, doing that yajna to enjoy or to go to Swarga. What should he be focusing on? Going to moksha. And how he is going to reach moksha? By doing his duty. What is his duty as a Kshatriya? To fight in the Dharma Yuddha. So that is why Krishna is trying to explain this point to Arjuna. Now, just like in worldly things also, we say that it is very important to have focus when you are seeking to achieve some goal. So similarly in sadhana also, focus is very important. Let us take the example of somebody who is running in a race. Now, if there is a person who is running a race, then he should be focused on reaching his goal. Now, generally, if it is a marathon, it's a very long distance that they have to run. And we've seen how people gather on the sides of the road. They will cheer up that runner. They'll give him water to drink. They'll throw water bottles, whatever. So when such activities are going on, should he get lost in those activities and, lose his track, lose his focus on the goal, then he is not going to reach the goal, isn't it? Similarly, if a student who is out from school and takes admission into a college and he's gone to get admitted into the college, now classes are starting. Now, such a student, should he be focusing on what is being taught in the classroom, or should he spend his time in trying to find which is a good eatery around the college, which place he can get all tasty food to eat, which place he can watch the best movies? Should he be looking at that, or he should be focusing on his studies? He should be focusing on getting to his goal, which is completing his studies. So similarly in sadhana also, we don't need to be worried about what all are the things which are advised. What is important for me, what is necessary for me at my level, according to that I have to take the advice of the Vedas and move. So what Krishna is saying, is telling Arjuna, you move to the state of nirdvandva. Nirdvandva is the state beyond dvandva. Dvandva means the dualities. We've already seen in some previous satsang, sukha dukkha, the two opposites, right? Jaya, apajaya, labha, alabha. So all these, joy, sorrow, victory, defeat, gain, loss, all these are the dualities in our life. So Krishna is telling him that you move beyond these. Now, how he has to move beyond those? How can he go beyond the stage of being caught up in this duality, in this dvandva? By two ways. The first method is Niryogakshema, and the second one is Atmavan. So, what is the Niryogakshema? So, Yogakshema, as I already mentioned in the previous satsang, yoga means you are there is something which is very rare and difficult to get. So, if a person attains that, which is very rare and difficult to get, that is called as yoga. And Kshema means if he has got it now by some fortune, retaining that, being able to hold on to what he has got, that is called as Kshema. So, when somebody is having this idea of yoga and Kshema, he wants to protect, he wants to see that he gets many things, and also he wants to make sure that whatever he gets stays with him. So, in such a situation, this person is someone who is always focused on his own yoga Kshema. Now, Krishna is telling Arjuna that you become Niryogakshema. You be unattached. You don't be attached to your yoga and Kshema. So you don't think about that. Constantly, if you go on thinking about your yoga Kshema, that means you're getting again caught up in your own pleasure, your own luxury, in making your life comfortable. Don't think about those things. So when you try to be detached from this duality, right, then at that time what will happen? The rajo guna and the tamo guna will start reducing. So when the rajo tamo guna reduces, you will be able to move beyond the state of dvandva. That is one thing. Second thing is, not only you should try to reduce the rajo tamo guna, but you should also try to increase your sattva guna. Now you may wonder, we said already that Arjuna's caliber is such that he is at the level beyond rajottama guna. And yet, at this point, isn't it? At this point, when the yuddha has to happen, he is feeling emotional. He is feeling that all his relatives will be killed. He is upset at that thought, which means that he is not fully out of that zone of the rajotama guna. Some part is still left in him. So if he gives up that rajotama guna, if he does not worry about what will happen, good, bad, and all that, then he can go beyond easily towards the goal of moksha. And secondly, Arjuna already has sattva guna, but then he should try and increase that. And how can he increase that? By being atmavan, by focusing only on the atma. In other words, you should not worry about yoga kshema of things in this world. You only worry about the yoga kshema of your atma. Whatever you do in all stages, you should be looking at how your atma is going to benefit from a particular action. That is what Krishna is advising to Arjuna. And continuing in this on this topic, the next shloka also. So we will take up that also in today's satsang. So in the 46th shloka, Krishna says it is trying to further remove and clear the confusion that Arjuna has. So he says, Yavanartha udapane sarvata samplutodake tavan sarveshu vedeshu brahmanasya vijanataha. So he says, whatever purpose is served by a small well of water is naturally served in all respects by a large lake. Similarly, one who realizes the absolute truth also fulfills the purpose of all the Vedas. So here the Acharyas explain that suppose you have a big river and you have a small well, right? Now, in the well, you have limited amount of water, so you can only do one thing with that water. But the river is very large. Now, on the banks of that river, they would have designated certain places. Like maybe this is a place where everybody should collect drinking water, the part which is most upstream. From there, everybody should take drinking water. Another place in that river may be for people to perform puja. Another part of the river may be designated as a place to wash the clothes or the utensils. So like this, whatever be the activities, they are all done along the same river. but each person goes to a particular place as per their requirement. Similarly, the Vedas are there, they are telling many different things, but every person has to take that part of the Vedas which are appropriate for them, for their journey on the path towards moksha. Now, if a person is thirsty, how much water can he drink? It depends on his capacity. It depends on the level of his thirst. It depends on how much his stomach can hold, right? Similarly, when the Vedas are telling lot of information, that information, as we said, it is for people of all the gunas, it is for people of all different ages, it is people for people of all genders, it is for people of different varnas, it is for people in different ashramas, right? So Vedas will tell in general for everybody, but what every person should take, whatever is meant for them, only that part. Now for Arjuna, what is required? Not the ritualistic part of the Vedas, not the part of the Vedas which tell what Homa he should do to enjoy in this world, not the part which tells what he should do to reach to Swarga. But what Arjuna requires, Krishna is now explaining him. He's saying that, oh Arjuna, I am giving you very specific advice. What is the specific advice that Krishna is giving to Arjuna? He is telling him, give up Rajotamo Guna. And because of that Rajotamo Guna, you have this emotional attachment to your relatives and you are thinking that you are going to kill them. So give up that. Don't run away from the Dharma Yuddha. This Dharma Yuddha is your opportunity which has come unasked. And by fighting in this Dharma Yuddha, you will go to moksha. So don't run away from this Dharma Yuddha. Stand and do your duty and fight. Then he is telling him, you fight. But with what motive? What purpose? Don't fight with the inferior desire to get the Rajya, but fight for the superior goal of attaining moksha. Right? And here we need to, the Acharyas also explain this last part, which says Brahmanasya Vijanataha. So, who is a Brahmana? Right? So, generally, when we talk, we say use the word Brahmana, we feel that it is talking about somebody who belongs to the Brahmana caste, to that particular Varna, or more commonly in today's times, people talk of Jati. Right? So, here in this Shlokas context, when Krishna is saying Brahmana, he means not people belonging to a particular Varna or a particular Jati. Rather, he is talking about anybody who aspires to attain moksha, not just aspires, but also makes efforts to attain moksha. Such a person is called as a Brahmana. So Krishna is telling Arjuna that, oh Arjuna, you are a very superior kind of person. You are somebody who has the capacity to go beyond the three gunas. You are somebody who has the capacity to be always in sattva guna. You should not let any part of rajotamo guna attack you. So you have such a great caliber. You are my aunt's son. We know, isn't it, that Kunti Devi was the aunt of Krishna. So you are my aunt's son. More importantly, you are my friend. You are Dhananjaya, the one who is the conqueror of everything. And you are the wielder, the person who holds the mighty Gandiva bow. So your position is so superior. How can you afford to get confused? How can you afford to get caught up in sentiment? How can you afford to be in the mode of Rajatama Guna? This is not your caliber. So you have to overcome all these things. And because you are of such a high caliber, you have to act as per whatever is the Shastra telling for you. So for you, the parts of the Vedas which are telling about Homa, Yajna, Havana, this Vidhi, that Vidhi, they are not meant for you. What is the part of the Vedas which is meant for you? The Upanishads. So what do the Upanishads teach? They teach about how you attain moksha. Now for everybody, as per their Varna, they have a particular path which is specified. And when that particular path is specified, they should follow that path. So Arjuna is a Kshatriya, and the path for him is to go and fight in the Dharma Yuddha. So Krishna is trying to convince Arjuna like this. So what is the message for us in that? Certain things from all of these shlokas. First thing, if we are going to be running after bhoga and aishwarya, desires, they will never end. Like we have noticed that if there is a fire, then the more things that you put into the fire, it will only become more and more brighter. It will blaze more and more. It is not going to get extinguished by putting things into it. What you need to do to put out a fire, you need to cut off the oxygen supply. So similarly, if we are having unending desires, then the more we keep trying, we think that we will fulfill this desire and it will die away. It will never die away. It will only become stronger and stronger. So we need to make sure that we cut off the oxygen, we cut off the supply of things which give fuel to that desire, right? We need to be content with what we are having and focus on what we are having. Already I'm having so much. Let me be happy with this. Let me not run after every single enjoyment and pleasure in this. More importantly, we need to evaluate ourselves for whether we are predominant. Every individual has a mixture of sattva, raja, tama gunas. None of us are having only sattva guna, only rajo guna, only tama guna. So we must evaluate ourselves for the sattva guna, rajo guna, and tama guna. And what is the main criteria we need to use? If I'm able to stay positive, even in the most negative of circumstances, then it means that I have more of sattva guna. We need to evaluate ourselves. And one of the easiest ways to increase our sattva guna is to follow ahara niyama. We will talk about this later, because in the other chapters later in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord himself has explained what is sattvic ahara, what is rajasic ahara, what is tamasic ahara. So we have to increase our sattva guna. And whatever desires we have, which are against the desire for moksha, which are these desires? Actually, all the desires. Any desire other than the desire for moksha is going to cause a problem to us. So if we are going to put more and more fuel into that desire, if we are going to spend more time, energy in pursuing those desires, we are going to get diverted from our goal of sadhana. So we have to give up attention to those desires and focus our attention on all those activities which are part of our sadhana. So here the acharyas have advised one practical tip. We should make a list of what all desires we have. Definitely we are not going to be able to give up all of them, but we must list, we must identify what are my wishes, what are the things that I want, what am I hankering after, what desires do I have. Once I have made a list, let me decide, let me pick a few of those and say within 1 year, I will try to reduce this desire, or I will try to overcome this particular desire. I will give up something, or I will at least try to reduce it by so much percent. After 1 year is over, let us look back. We need to evaluate ourselves. I said that I will reduce this. I said I will give up this. Have I succeeded? If we take 10 things, if we take 5 things, we may succeed in half, we may succeed in one, right? Whatever it may be, at least I am that much proportion better than what I was 1 year ago, isn't it? So if when I evaluate, I find that yes, I'm able to slowly overcome the desire anyone, or I'm able to reduce that particular desire, then it means that I am walking on the correct path which Krishna has taught in the Bhagavad Gita. So this is something that we must take very seriously. If we are going to say that, okay, I will do sadhana when the time is there, then we are no different from people who are having other hobbies. Just like somebody is having hobby of collecting stamps, somebody is having hobby of listening to movie songs, somebody is having hobby of whiling away time on YouTube. Similarly, I have a hobby of being in satsang. Beyond that, if it is not making a difference to my whole purpose of life, then it means it is still only a hobby. We need to take a look at ourselves. Are we really going on the path that the Lord wants us to go on? This is very apt for us because we are in satsang. We are not just some person who is lost in pursuing worldly desires. We are not only lost in that. We are lost to some extent, but we somewhere we also have this desire that okay, we want to go ahead spiritually. So we must do this. Make a list of what are our weaknesses, what are the things that we should give up, what are the things we can reduce our desires, and then try and make active efforts. And doing that, when you do that kind of an effort, then you are doing some kind of tyaga. Then when you're doing that kind of a tyaga, that is what is actual tapascharya. In today's times, we are not able to go and sit in the Himalayas and do tapas. But this, that when I have an urge to do something and I know it is not good for me, if I resist that urge, if I cut down that desire, if I burn it down and I don't give in to that, then that is my tapascharya. So let us pray that Krishna will bless us to be able to make these kind of changes in our life, and he will guide us on the right way to go ahead on the spiritual path. Let Krishna bless us for that. So we have reached the end of our time. Let us offer Kritagnyata, gratitude at the lotus feet of Sri Krishna and Guru for inspiring us to start and join this satsang. And let us pray for their blessings and grace to always be on us. Thank you everybody for attending the satsang.